Good evening, late evening, everyone, and welcome to the 3 for 1 Sky Fantasy Podcast and Fantasy Football Hub. As we look ahead to Gameweek 36 with all the outstanding fixtures now confirmed and the running also finally confirmed. Welcome, Paul. You've been fresher, is probably fair to say, after a weekend on a stag in the big smoke. But how was your Sky weekend?
It was pretty hard to remember, to be honest. It was all a bit blurry. But I feel I made the right captaincy choices. I don't own Rodri, as we know from kind of the last pod, so that did set me back a little bit. But yeah, not too bad. I think an average week would be safe to say.
At least you got Kudus, though.
Well, not anymore, I don't.
I don't think I've moved since overhaul. I think I was I can't remember, like about 180th, 190th. I think I'm like 180th. I know it's showing 178 on screen, but I think some points were added in the last 24 or 48 hours because I've sworn into 180th. So something's changed. But yeah, you've got more transfers than me. It's quite hard. It seems very difficult to make any moves. The template, I say the template is probably a template of like 8 or 9 players, and then there's a kind of sprinkling of 1 or 2. But they all just seem to be cancelling each other out almost, don't they? There don't seem to be many players at the moment that are going on a real run and standing out. It's like, if someone's got Solanke and he scores, he seems to be matched by someone with, I don't know, Saka and he scores sort of thing. It just doesn't seem to be too much movement. But hopefully we're going to go through the running in a bit, and there seem to be quite a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not holding out much hope for this Sunday. I think that it's going to be a couple of opportunities beyond that is where differences will get made.
Yeah,
I think this Sunday is going to be really popular for doing the moves that we talked about on previous pods in terms of steaming into Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree. Just before we start, welcome Windy. And I agree with Windy with what he says here. He says, I reckon squad rotation is going to put a dent in our points during his upcoming fixture games. Lots of talk doing the rounds on player fatigue. I know Rodri came out last night, did he, and just said, I'm just so tired. I need a rest. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play against Luton. For example, the way the Champions League matches played out last night,
Calvin Phillips in for him.
Calvin Phillips. The way the matches played out last night, the fact that both teams are home, I don't expect Arsenal to maybe rotate as heavily, even though they've got such a congested, fixture schedule. But we've seen from Man City, Pep's not scared to rest his big players. Could rest Haaland on the weekend, could rest Foden on the weekend. They play at 3:00 as well, so we're not going to see the lineups, which will be interesting. And then Arsenal have got to go to Bayern and get a result as well. So it's going to be interesting. And if the teams progress again, we may see this more again, mightn't we? So it's because they'll be playing each other. Yep. So it's really, really interesting how it's all panning out. Tommy Jones is in the chat. Dave Hannigan says, past my bedtime, but stayed up. Thank you, Dave. I hope we don't affect your productivity tomorrow. Colin Johnston is in. Tommy Jones, John Aconley, Mark Young, Humble Monk, Tim WD, Michael Blackburn, Off Spinner in a Hurry, Graham Craig, and FPL Spartans. Apologies again that we're not at our usual sort of slot, but both of us have had ridiculously busy sort of few weeks, and we're finding it quite tough at the moment to align our calendars, aren't we? But we will carry on every week. We will find a time and we'll do it. Tommy Jones says Fergie is just doing his hair, as you can see. He needs a bit of work. Anyway, Paul, Sunday moving day, a la Ian Parrin. What are your thoughts? We're going to talk first about the kind of next week or two, and then we'll chat in the second half of the pod around the back end, which has now been confirmed. But what are your early thoughts about this weekend?
Yeah, so I reverse engineered this and looked at the popular players and ranked if I would take them out or not if they were in my team, and then we can go on to the players that are bringing in, which I think is a simpler conversation in terms of the pool of players exists primarily of two teams, and if you don't own the popular players, like Bukayo Saka's only in 15% of teams in the top 1,000 just now, so he's going to put a popular transfer in. Gabriel, 16.2%. So I feel that these players are going to be very popular for coming in anyway. So I'll focus more on who I would take out. So looking at the top 1K ownership, you've got Cole Palmer out in front. Chelsea, we know, have got extra fixtures. They have the single game day on Monday, so I'm ruling that out immediately. Whether somebody wants to do hokey cokey with them further down the line, I think that people that are erring on lower transfers or even medium volumes of transfers probably won't, based on his price point, allows the flexibility to move elsewhere. And Chelsea do have extra fixtures anyway, so
and they
even
haven't
if you
got
were
a gap in fixtures either, have they? Like a lot of teams have got this gap of whatever 9-10 days. Chelsea just they're constant from now right till the end of the season, aren't they? So yeah, definitely think it's a keep.
So, and then it's Salah, and we know that Salah's the hop on rather than the hop off at this stage. Haaland, I think I'll be coming off Haaland on Saturday and moving him on. I
Sunday.
have a flex. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, after Saturday's fixture, yeah. Moving on off and coming back on probably the following Thursday. But the beauty with the following Thursday when they play Brighton is I get to see the lineups as well. So if it doesn't start, then pick another Man City player. And then they don't play till the following Sunday either. So again, if he hadn't played, you can benefit from a player playing on the Saturday the 27th of April, and then move on to him there.
Just
so
on just on Haaland and Man City as well, we're going to know at that point if Man City are in the semis of the Champions League, because he's obviously bound to play a lot more, aren't they? If they're out, they do have the FA Cup semi-final in that gap there as well. So we're going to know by that Brighton game whether they're through to the semis of the Champions League and whether they're through the FA Cup final. Not the FA Cup final has much influence because that's been played after the league season has been finished. But
yeah. Then we've got Saliba and Van Dijk, two hop on players rather than hop off. We've got Son, who I will be taking out of my team after Saturday's game for Sunday's fixtures. Rodri, who I don't own, but he would be on my chopping list as well. Similar reasons to Haaland mentioned there. Solanke is an interesting one. Based on his price point, I think for my team that I'm likely to keep him in, we've got double the next week, and I've got enough money in my plan to move him to Haaland if I want, or any Man City player on Thursday the 25th. So I'm likely to hold. I do accept that if you moved on to a Liverpool or Arsenal player at that stage there on Sunday, that perhaps there's not enough players that you want rid of. And if that's the case, then I wouldn't I wouldn't argue against doing that move. Next comes Van Heck at 50% of teams. So Brighton only have the one fixture the following week at home to Man City. So not particularly great fixture. They do have extra fixtures at the tail end of the season. At his price point for me, I'm likely to hold. Again, doubling him up with Palmer in terms of their price points allows a lot of flexibility around the rest of the squad, especially when going for players. If thinking about Odegaard could be popular at this point, Darwin Núñez will be popular. So thinking of players that are a little bit more expensive and perhaps aren't at that 8 million price point where there's a lot more flexibility picking in there. So I'm likely to hold Van Heck. This is where if you'd held Van Heck over Dunk, yes, you benefited quite a bit from having Dunk over the last couple of weeks, but I'm hoping this is where I'll potentially gain an edge by having done that move. Romero's the same as Son for me. No games for Spurs the following week. Perfect hop on point following week and the week after that to probably the following week, because that's when the doubles start for them and they play on the Sunday that week. So it's perfect jump back on point. So Romero will be coming out for me. Now, Neto is another that fits the Solanke mould, but one I prefer taking out. And the reason being, if you moved Neto on to Raya and then got 3 Arsenal games at Raya, you could move him on to Onana. And that's the position that I wanted to get to. I wanted to get onto Onana and then hold Onana through to the end of the season. If you hold Neto and don't do the Raya move, Bournemouth play on the same day as Man United at the same part of the end of the double game week. on Wednesday, 24th. So you'd have to make a move at some point with no fixture gain, or you lose the extra fixture at some point down the line as well. So I think I will move on Neto at that point. He's in 35% of the top 1K teams. We've got Nunes, Rea, just mentioned both of those. They're hop-on players. Bowen's injured, so do you wait for the Fulham game on Sunday? I think if he's ruled out, then he would be one of the players that you move on anyway. If not, I would likely hold Bowen to the following week where they play away at Crystal Palace, and then probably move off at that point just for the extra information. However, he's got a bruised spine. Is that right? So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Does that how long that rules you out for? Really? We'll find out. Well,
I don't think he's fit for tomorrow, is he? It's been confirmed he's not fit for tomorrow, so he's got to be a risk for Sunday, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think if he's not fit for tomorrow, he's unlikely to play Sunday, and they'll try and keep him for the Leverkusen, provided they're still in the fixture. That would just be a no known information, just based on a sensible approach, I guess. Then you've got Foden at 21%. I think that I'd be taking him out. Dunk. I'd probably take Dunk out. The reason for keeping Van Heck is the flexibility and the price there, but Dunk I would probably lose. He plays on the Saturday as well this weekend, and then you've got Gabriel and Saka, who I would be hopping onto. And then the last one I want to mention, so the only other player that's above 10% owned is Ivan Toney. Now, if I own Toney, I would probably hold until they play on Saturday the 30th. Saturday the 20th of April, and then I'd make the move on there. So from that list there of players that are owned by 10% in the top 1K, I've listed off 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players that I would potentially move off. So this is why this move off 5 players, if you've got the transfers, is going to be really, really popular on Sunday. All the fixture gains for those teams.
Yeah, interesting. Just a couple of points. If we get news, which I think we're maybe fairly likely to get news on the Man City team pre-deadline, and say, I don't know, Foden's not in, or Rodri or Haaland. There are a couple of teams. Obviously the vast majority of the games, the gains will be on Sunday, but Wolves have got a pretty good 4-1 over Man City in that point, and they play on the Saturday. I mean, if you get Rodri, like Rodri to a Wolves player, they got Forest away and they got Arsenal, but they have got home to Bournemouth, home to Luton there, and the only other one I saw what was the Toney move, actually, because Sheffield United and Luton, you're not going to get any better than that, are you, in terms of fixtures? So I think they're more for probably people who've got a lot of transfers, like sort of maybe 14, 15 plus, but they're the kind of moves for those who are looking to use their transfers to try and get ahead. Potentially, they're a couple of moves if we get early Man City news. You haven't mentioned Everton and Pickford. They've obviously got a 5-for-3 starting Monday with an effective 6-for-3, including the captaincy on Friday the 3rd of May, over Bournemouth and over a few other teams. What are your thoughts on that move there?
It's certainly another alternative.
What's your plan for the captaincy on the Everton Luton at the moment? There, Skip, is it?
At present, Skip. Yeah.
I do think Luton will score. Is the thing, because they just scored, don't they? Like every game except away to Arsenal, was it? But other than that, they score every game, don't they? So
definitely an option. So like I guess Neto to Pickford might be popular, a popular move as well. It's why I'm considering Neto is that I'm possibly not considering Gabriel. And the reason I'm not considering Gabriel is I had a quick work through of what I think my team could look like on Thursday, the 25th of April, and I was 0.1 short of the optimal team that I wanted. So I'd unpick it a little bit. And for me, that made sense like just falling through that way. And I wouldn't want to go in without double Arsenal defence, and that would be my preference. But there is alternatives. I could go in with like Ben White. It's just maybe, yeah, like there is a few options there.
In terms of Arsenal and Liverpool, obviously everyone are targeting those teams because of the quality of the teams and the fixture gains as well. We showed this exact slide last week. Nothing has probably changed much in terms of the players. We did have a couple of good questions around these as well. Aman asked around, would you go for explosiveness as opposed to consistency? So, he used the example of Martinelli ahead of Rice, or potentially like Havertz or Wright. Rice is probably good for 5 points, might get an odd 7 or 8 pointer, whereas, Martinelli potentially, Havertz, or something like that, more, they can get more the 12, 15, 16 sort of pointers. And what do you think the profile of an engaged manager's team is going to look like on Sunday in terms of number of players for Liverpool and Arsenal? Quite interested in what you think about that.
Yeah, I think so, like 7 or 8. I think
really that
I think
many.
You're right. I think so. I think Pickford. Well, if you look at, if we go back to the percentage ownership, like Saliba's on 84% of teams and Van Dijk's on 80%, right? So we say that the pro, like, and Salah's on 98%, right? So the profile of the teams is over 2.5 at that stage already. And so, like, round up to 3. You've also got a sprinkling of Raya, Nunez, Gabriel, Saka, albeit a bit lower. So summing those up, maybe 3.5 average already. And we were saying that most engaged managers are going to make 5 transfers to make the most of that. That takes us up to 8.5, but we'll say 8. So yeah, I think 8 will be the average.
Wow,
nearest the top.
That is high. And what is that 8 going to look like? Who are I know you've mentioned Van Dijk, Saliba,
and Salah. So
Salah.
we take those 3 out, and then the players that are already popular in the top 1K. So Nunez, Raya are both in a third of teams each. Saka and Gabriel's on 15 and 16%. So again, Saka will be really popular, right? He's one of the most popular players in the game. And then I think people, based on like the budget comment that I made earlier, moving to Rice, because Rice is at the low 8s. I think he's 8.2 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I'll still check that. He is 8.1, and for that reason, at his price point, I think that he'll be more popular, and I think that that's what people are going to have to balance up, and hence why, I think Rice will be more popular than others, but only because he's 8.1 and it allows other things. Especially, fair enough if you're taking Haaland out, but if you want a plan to get Haaland back in, and it doesn't involve losing Saka, or maybe it doesn't include losing Saka, and that makes yourself a little bit more flexible again.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of movement, are we? And but it's interesting because like I'm at the lower end of transfer thing. I've got 8 left, so I'm not making 5. Because I'm going to want to flip back. I'm probably going to want to make maybe I've got. I'll say that I've got 4 already, mind. So maybe if I make 3, because I quite like that Raya to Onana move as well, but that's obviously 2 out of my remaining 8, 25% of my transfers on keepers, and I'm going to want Son back and wherever else as well, Haaland back, and
a season where keepers are low scoring, right?
Exactly.
Because of clean sheet.
I'm going to. It looks like I'm gonna. I've earmarked all my 8 transfers just by getting on, Saka, whoever and whoever, Saka, Raya, and I don't know, maybe Gabriel or Havertz or whatever else. Then onto another keeper, that's 4, and then getting Son back, Haaland back, and then I've got another 2, which no doubt will be hygiene transfers as well. There's not much room for manoeuvre, but even that, some people have only got 11, 12, or 13 left as well, who are not in a much of a better position, I suppose. Just need to get lucky with who you pick. You need
Well, this is it. If you
Darwin
want to
Nunes at 40% to go and bang a bracing on the weekend or something.
if you want to gain rank at this stage, players to highlight, in my opinion, and they come with gambles, is your Martinellis and your Luis Diaz's.
Exactly
I think the
that.
Diaz won't be as popular as maybe some would anticipate. He's priced more favourably in other formats than he is in Sky, I think.
Yeah. Good stuff. It's going to be an interesting day on Sunday. It's going to be interesting to see the transfer count, the average transfer count next week. We'll touch on that in a bit. But looking towards the back end of the season, then we had the fixtures confirmed. It was about 5 o'clock this afternoon, wasn't it? For the end of the season. So everything's pretty set. There are still a couple of things which could potentially move based on if Man City get through in the Champions League, that Ryan put in the chat, and that tie ends up falling on a Tuesday, then their match against Brighton will move back to Wednesday the 24th. So there are small bits, but it's kind of 95% plus sort of set in it. The highlight looks to be a Spurs 6-for-3 from Sunday the 28th over lots of teams, and there's a Man City 3-for-1 to finish the season off. I don't think the fixtures have probably fallen as kindly as they could have for those with lots of transfers.
You mean Man United?
Who did I say? Sorry, Man City, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Man United have got a 3-for-1 to finish the season. But if that Spurs and Man City game had have been, prior to the Liverpool and Chelsea game, for example, I think there would have been a lot more opportunity to pile on both Spurs and City for 3-for-1s over lots of teams. But what are your current takes and thoughts, Paul, on how to finish the season?
Well, a couple of opportunities. Like we say that this Arsenal mini run finishes on Tuesday the 24th, Tuesday the 23rd of April, sorry. That's what I was looking to do, maybe Rea to Onana. An alternative, not an alternative to the goalkeeper move, but Newcastle don't play in the first half of that week and play there as well. Now, I know that Isak has made a Weetabix, but Callum Wilson won me the game last year and has a equally poor, if not worse, injury record than Isak does. So there's definitely an opportunity for a gamble there. Maybe an Anthony Gordon at that point as well. So
their fixtures are superb, aren't they? To finish the season, they're one of a few good teams actually who've actually got a fantastic finish to the season.
And we'll see what they look like defensively over the next couple of games. Maybe there's an opportunity to bring in Schär at that point in time. I don't like the defensive moves as much as the attacking ones from Newcastle. It would certainly be those two players that I'd be signalling out. You'd already mentioned the Spurs move on Sunday the 28th. They've got immediate 2-for-0s over a lot of teams. Their fixtures are pretty poor in that period of time. I think over the course of the 4 games they play Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool and City, or maybe that's over the course of 5 games, or with another in between there as well. So opportunities there. And then there is a few opportunities to jump on Man United. They've got a really nice fixture run at the end. That could be on Monday the 6th of May when they're away to Crystal Palace and have a single game day. Or it could be on Sunday the 12th of May when they're at home at Arsenal and they have a 3-for-1 over most teams. You might find that a player gets injured on Saturday the 11th of May and is ruled out for the season, and therefore you're getting an automatic 3-for-0 by moving on to a Man United player there.
Yeah, good stuff. In terms of transfer count, and things, it kind of looks like 12 or 13 plus, and you can really take advantage of a lot of these. I think anything under that, and it looks like I say, I've only got 8 left, right? So I'm looking at it, and I've spent all mine already, and that's without kind of Isaac or any kind of. I wouldn't even say Isaac's a luxury move, but that final run for Newcastle is pretty good, and the forward spots actually, which have been they've been full all season, haven't they? But they've kind of opened up recently because obviously Watkins has dropped out. Solanke's gone off the boil a bit, and they don't end the season that well. Isaac's definitely one I've kind of got my eye on as well. In terms of transfer counts, what would your kind of ideal be to make? I know it's a kind of a hard question to kind of answer, but it looks to me like roughly 12 or 13 would be able to take advantage of quite a lot of these opportunities to be reasonably optimal.
I think so. Yeah, I'd say the same. Maybe 13. I think you'd have a really good go at getting most of the moves that you wanted to do till the end of the season in.
Yeah, agree. Let's have a look at this weekend then in a bit more detail. Newcastle Spurs play at 12:30. Obviously, we get to see that. Lots have still got Son, but it will likely be his last game for a while for Sky managers. Forest and Wolves, Man City and Luton, Burnley and Brighton, Brentford, Sheffield United, Bournemouth and Man United. We do tend to get Man City team league news on Twitter, don't we? And I think everyone's going to be absolutely glued. From whatever time, 11 o'clock onwards, both from an FPL view and a 10:30 onwards, both from an FPL view and a Sky view. At the moment, all being equal, we don't get any news. Who would your captain be?
It was Captain Haaland.
You would if you don't get any news.
Yeah, I think that with the 4-day gap and then the 4-day gap and the fact that Haaland's not been on particularly great form, that they might want him to get a couple of goals in that game to spur him on. If I knew Haaland was out, but I didn't know any other players were playing, and I had free reign at selecting a player, I guess De Bruyne would no play, right? Because he was ill midweek and he suspected wasn't there. Ivan Toney at home to Sheffield United for Brentford. In terms of my own team, I think I would just likely captain Son against Newcastle in that early game.
Especially if he's playing through the middle. Should be a bit of a barnstorm with that game, I think. I think there'll be a few goals in that one day because neither team can defend. And then Sunday the 14th of April, moving day, West Ham play Fulham. We see the lineups for Liverpool and Palace. Interestingly, we don't see the lineups for Arsenal and Villa. Do you expect any surprises in the Arsenal team? Do you expect any rests?
He's going for the title. I think his rotational places is into the number 9 spot, maybe one of the wide attacking players. Yep. Jorginho or Partey, and then at left back, and that really feels to me the only places that he'll rotate much, and I think that therefore it leaves the likely players that you'd want to get. It takes away your punt attempt with Martinelli, who seems to be in and out the team a little bit.
Maybe Havertz as well, potentially. I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus got a start, for example.
Potentially. Havertz has been dropping in some games he's played, but yeah, again, it removes some of the punt players, but does leave you with Odegaard, Rice, Saliba, if you don't already own him. Saka's interesting. He was limping again, but he's always limping. But I suspect he has to go strong in the fact that, again, they've got 4 days after. No, they've only got 3 days rest, right? Because it's a Sunday game.
Yeah, they have,
yeah, maybe that's a little bit more interesting.
I just can't see him dropping, in terms of the options, Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, Saka, they just seem to play every game they fit. I know Saka missed out last week. His minutes, actually, Saka's minutes have been quite significantly managed, surprisingly. He's got a reputation, haven't he, of play, being absolutely flogged. But over the last few games, in the last 9 games, right? 79, 67, 69, 76, 45. I think that's when he 45, 90, 78, injured, 64. He's only played 190 minutes since game week 22, which is interesting. It doesn't make him a bad option, right? He's still on penalties, took his penalty really well on the weekend. He's still a fantastic option, but yeah, that thing of he just plays 90 flogged to death is definitely that myth has been busted now. Monday the 15th then, Chelsea and Everton, complete no-brainer obviously for Palmer, who is just in absolutely ridiculous form. Any other interest in any Chelsea players? Pickford?
Pickford. I like your thoughts around Pickford. I'll maybe map out at the cost of one extra transfer the Arsenal to Man United fixtures along the way before I would do the Pickford to Man United move and see if I think that that's worth one more transfer or not. Beyond that, I wouldn't touch Chelsea. I'm not convinced they don't change keepers either at the weekend or at some point down the line. There's just very little interest for me from anywhere else.
In terms of a Pickford move on, you get that 5, as I said, including the captaincy would be 6. Their following game after that is actually home to Sheffield United as well. So you effectively get 7 games, and you can still move on to Onana then for the final 3 for 1, but it doesn't really feel worth it then, does it? If you can just go Raya straight to Onana, because it's the same amount of transfers too. I don't know. Need to give a little bit of thought maybe, because the fixture volume would be roughly the same for the two. So it would be 3 for Raya, 6 for Onana, which is 9, and then Everton play 6. Then you get another 3, which is 9. Obviously, you would rather Raya and Onana together than Pickford and Onana. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense if you are, if you're going to stick with Pickford, fair enough. But other than that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Quick look at average transfers. Top 10, 7. This was as of Friday. Top 10, 7. Top 100, 9.3. Top 1,000, 10.3. Top 5,000, 9.5. Can't see them changing much, because I don't think there was much transfer activity last weekend. It's to see what they go down to. What do you think the average top 1,000 goes down to?
I think it goes down 4, 3.5.
Oh, so you think down to like between 6 and 7?
Maybe not. I guess you have got people with 0 there, and then even the people that are low done. But it wouldn't surprise me if it went down 3.
Yeah, I think between sort of 7 and 7.5. I think when we look, obviously, we're not going to see the result of this, are we, until the following week, because they're kind of a week behind. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Tim, lots of dead teams in the top 5,000. There's probably some dead teams in the top 1,000 as well. I would guess, or teams with no transfers left as well. So yeah, that's a fair point. We've kind of.
And in fact, in fairness, I could imagine some more engaged managers entering in the top 1,000 as others go out. Yeah. So maybe it doesn't drop as significantly there, because people will still have decent transfer accounts back.
We haven't really mentioned it much, but let's just have a quick look at the top 2. Well, there's a few players who are in the top 100 overall. A few Sky content creators. Sam Guy from Golden Goal is 95th overall. Very well played, Sam. Michael Byram from Fantasy Football Geek is 55th overall. FPL Andy, Let's Talk FPL, is 51st overall. Having a fantastic season. Samuel Brennan from Sky FF Lab is 42nd overall. Leon Dorian, a Fantasy Football Hub, previous winner 3 seasons ago, is 13th overall, and he's pretty well set. He was desperately unlucky. Did you see his Tony transfer? Oh, do you know, I felt for him. I felt for him so much. He, for those who didn't see, there was a tweet put out by Brentford just in the last midweek game to say that Tony got injured in the warm up and he's being replaced by Mbeumo. And Liam had brought in Tony before the warm up had started. Seeing then that Tony was injured, he then transferred Tony out again. But then Tony actually started the match. Thankfully, can you imagine if he'd gone on and scored like 2 or 3 goals? Like, oh my goodness, just unbelievable. But yeah, Liam's having another fantastic season, 13th overall, and Luke Williams, 10th overall. He's been up and around there for ages, haven't he? So incredibly well played, Luke. But we've got quite a lot of content creators in that top 100 and top 50, and indeed hovering around the top 10. So the very, very best of luck to both Luke and Liam in their pursuit of the title of your crown. Paul, you're reigning champion for another, what is it, 5 weeks maybe. Make the most of it, mate. Because I don't think 770. I don't think you'll be troubling the check writer this year.
No, on Liam's move to Gabriel, he has gained 13 points over Tony from making that
For making the additional transfer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So if Tony had started, he got 3 points over those 2 games, whereas Gabriel's got 16.
But so. But he would have had an extra transfer, wouldn't he? But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he's getting 13 points for a transfer.
Of course. Good stuff. Just before we go, we've got what's your favourite? And this week, Paul, I've got what is your favourite? And please answer in the chat as well. Let us know. What is your favourite genre of music and your favourite artist? As you can see by Paul's face, I do not prep any of this.
I'll start with my favourite song. I know that's not the that's not the question, but I'll go for the trifecta. So my favourite song is Nina Simone, Sinner Man.
Oh, I've heard. Hang on, I've heard of that fairly recently with something. I think in the last week or two.
It's used in a lot of things. It was a Sunday school poem, I think, or story that her mum told that she transformed into her song. Favorite artist of all time is probably the Eels. Mr. E's Beautiful Blues or Novocaine for the Soul was, I wouldn't say a famous album. They sang on one of the Shrek films. I think the first Shrek film, My Beloved Monster and Me. For those that don't know, some of the other songs might resonate. And genre of music, maybe Motown.
I like Motown. Back in the day.
I'll go with that.
Okay,
I'm quite eclectic.
I'm surprised that Motown is your favourite, just based on what I know of
the consistency of like if I was to go and put an album on that I know that I would enjoy most of the songs, and I was picking a genre that way, I think it'd be Motown for that.
Cool.
What about you?
I'm ridiculously eclectic, but I'm also not a massive sort of music buff either. I like Motown. I like soul as well. I'm very much just went sort of 90s music as a general. It's more like
that early 90s dance.
I do love early 90s dance. Love all that stuff. And then it's because I was born in 1980. All through the 90s was my sort of growing up thing. But there were various sort of genres within the 90s that I grew up with and which I really kind of enjoyed at the time. Just early 90s dance. There was a bit of kind of a reggae period between 93 and the 96, 97 that I kind of really enjoyed. Pato Banton and
what's that, like ska's like I know it's not like I know like the two are very similar, and ska music was popular around then as well.
I think that was a little bit earlier, but yeah, do like ska music. But yeah, there's kind of reggae, and then I was massively into Oasis and Blur and things like Ocean Colour Scene and Green Day, all those sorts of bands. Love Queen as well, absolutely Queen buff. But I also like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin sort of stuff back from back in the day. And I also do actually like a bit of, this was when I was like kind of 19 or 20 and I was going over to Ibiza and all this sort of stuff. I like all the Ibiza sort of dance tracks, but that's when Dr. Dre and hip hop was also in at its peak as well, and a bit of garage and all that stuff as well. So I do actually like most things, but it's funny. I do like most things, but I wouldn't say I'm a particularly music buff. I just got loads of different playlists on the radio and just kind of randomly go through each one. Things like Stereophonics, love as well, and all that sort of stuff. Dave Hannigan says ska, Madness. I love Madness, and I watched a tribute band last year to Madness, and they absolutely brought the house down. They were absolutely superb. Guilty
My
pleasure.
second favourite band, Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac, yeah, very
Like
good.
I know they're rated, but I almost feel that they're still underrated based on how many absolute bangers that they've had that people probably don't recognise are Fleetwood Mac tunes. Like you know, the song Chains that was on Formula One in the probably 90s,
90s,
right?
I think,
Or maybe
I think it was. Yeah, I agree.
Albatross is on the Marks and Spencer's food advert. That was by Fleetwood Mac as well.
Windy likes mod music, The Jam, and Colin new wave. He likes the 80s, Depeche Mode, Simple Minds, and U2. Yeah. Good stuff.
Two movies. If you like
go on.
music,
Yep.
Baby Driver had one of the best soundtracks that I've heard in a long time.
I watched that, and I've seen that in the last 6 months. Really enjoyed that. Yeah.
And it's a Scottish independent film, but if you like rave music, I'm not a massive rave music fan, but I really like the film. There's a film called Beats that did really well in the independent scene. Give it a watch. Really, I thought it was very well made.
And it surprised me how many people haven't seen the film. I think it was like early 90s soul sort of music, The Commitments. What film that is? Have you seen The Commitments? Oh mate, if you like Motown and all that sort of stuff, The Commitments is an absolutely fantastic film. It's about the band band in Ireland, but absolutely superb. Anyway, that is it from us this week. As usual, thank you so much to all those watching and listening. Your continued support is so much appreciated. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with us these last few weeks. Like I say, it's been really tough with various illness and work and stuff, but we are trying our best to get to you every single week. Thank you so much, Paul. Where can people find you?
On X at Paul McAnulty 1. MCANULTY. And
I'm at FFH_Fergi on I can't say X Twitter handle. I can't say X yet. I'm not there yet, mate. If you like what you watched, please press the like button and remember to subscribe in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. We would really appreciate it. We'll be back next week to preview Sky Gameweek 37 with just a handful of transfers left. Some of us will have less than a handful. In the meantime, we hope you have a great Gameweek 36 and goodbye for now.